Oulton Park sunshine, and the British Touring Car Championship will be blasting away again in a few minutes. Colin Turkington, our earlier winner from Jason Plato and Johnny Adam. But the champagne and celebrations have now been forgotten, because round 11 will be another very close battle indeed. And Louise is down on the grid.
Yeah, welcome to the grid for a race to a huge crowd here at Oulton Park today. They're expecting 35,000 people. It's traditionally one of the biggest crowds of the season. They love their motorsport in this part of the world, but they also love their rugby too. So it's no surprise to see a great rugby player, England and St Helens player, John Wilkin here. Fresh from the game last night as well. How did you get on?
Yeah, we won and got through to the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup, which is a big competition for us. But it's great to get down here, and yeah, thank you to Waves BMW for inviting me down today to, what's a fantastic event and something that's a bit out of my comfort zone, being here, all the petrol fumes and everything. But it's such an exciting event, and the enthusiasm of the people is, amazing.
First time you've been along, but you've watched it on the television. You are a motorsport fan, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I take a keen interest in all kinds of sport, any sport, and I've been spoken to Rob Callard, a member of the Waves BMW team, that. Just the sort of passion and the desire to win, what he showed is really amazing to me, and something that translates across all boundaries of sports, really.
Very different to your sport. There's obviously a lot of technology involved here. Have you had a good look around the garage? Yeah,
I've taken a few tips, maybe tune my car up at home, but obviously, nowhere near this level, but it's just a different world, like I said, but it was a great day for it, and great to see, almost 35,000 people here watching the event.
Good to see you here. Now let's go and grab a word with the aforementioned Rob Callard. Finished 9th in the last race, but had a little bit of argy-bargy on the way to that position. Rob, tough race for you, and got into a bit of an argy-bargy with Andrew Jordan, didn't you? Just tell us about that incident.
Yes, I was a lot faster than Andrew at the end of the race, and he was really struggling with his car. I put what I feel was a legitimate move down the inside of him going through Cascades. He tried to defend, and unfortunately we made contact.
And he wasn't very happy with you, I take it. Came up to have a word with you in Parc Ferme afterwards?
Yes, after the race he come over, and he was very angry in the pits.
OK, well, I think the race is about to start. We best clear the grid. Let's go straight up to the commentators.
Thanks very much, Louise. Yes, it's all happening pretty fast here at Oulton Park. We're rushing through everything, but it's great to see that lineup once again. Colin Turkington looking for 2 out of 2 here now. He's got 45 kilos of ballast on board, but let's bear in mind he was carrying quite a lot in that first race, Tim. So he's shown they can carry weight on the car.
Yeah, 36 kilos in the first race, so only an extra 9 actually. But so he's hardly going to notice that. He's still got the advantage of the start. He's got other BMWs around him. Plato, in contrast, has been added weight to, so in a way it should make it easier for Turkington.
That's right. Well, we'll see. Plato, as you can see on the outside of the front row. Johnny Adam starts in 3rd place. Good opportunity for him. Fabrizio Giovanardi, he's starting in 4th place. And then you've got the likes of Stephen Jelly and Adam Jones. Now, Adam Jones made a poor start on the first race, and he was telling me afterwards they've got a real pickup problem with that engine. For some reason, they don't quite know why. And so off the line in particular, it was very difficult. Let's take a look then at how they do line up for the start of this second race. It is Colin Turkington on pole position, Jason Plato alongside. It's BMW versus Chevrolet on the front row. Second row, Johnny Adam versus Fabrizio Giovanardi. Giovanardi, the first of the Vauxhalls on the grid. Behind them, we've got another BMW, the Team RAC version of Stephen Jelly. Adam Jones in the Cartridge World Racing machine is next door. Then it's Championship leader Matt Neal. Now, he's got no weight this time, no lead ballast. He could move up from there. James Thompson is 8th on the grid. 9th, the man we were speaking to a moment ago, Rob Collard. Andrew Jordan, the man he had the incident with, is alongside him. Then it's James Nash and Paul O'Neill together on row number 6. On row 7, it's the 2 focuses of Tom Chilton and Alan Morrison. Then Dave Pinkney lines up on row 8 together with Dan Eves in the second Seat. Martin Johnson is on row 9 with Martin Bell alongside. Towards the back, Matt Jackson, who suffered a puncture in the latter stages of the race when he was running 3rd. Harry Volkard went out of that race. And John Jaw starts at the back, and he's had a new engine fitted, well, in fact an old engine, but an engine that works, fitted for this second race of the day. Now we've got the radio on board, this time with Rob Collard. We spoke to him very briefly on the grid there, but we'll try and have a quick chat with Rob as he makes his way around. And there we are with the onboard view. And this is Ben in the commentary box to Rob. Rob, conditions look better. There's no oil on the track this time. Hopefully that makes things easier for you in this second race.
Yes, it was very touch and go on the first race. There was a lot of oil at the Nickelbrook chicane on the opening couple of laps, and it was very off-putting.
Now, it's a bit of a special day for your family. Tell us what it is today, then.
It's my father's birthday today, so if my dad's watching on TV, happy birthday, Dad.
Indeed. Thanks for that, Rob. Have a good race and a happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
From all of us to Rob's dad, watching it on TV. Of course, a double winner so far this year, Tim, so he's had a really good season with Team Airways.
Very, very strong. Came in well prepared this season after a good end to last year. Very confident, really pushing hard, and big family day as well. His son Ricky is racing karts out in Indianapolis in America, believe it or not. So
wow.
All involved this weekend.
They don't know where to look next, really, do they? So the internet will be busy trying to keep up with the family's results, I'm sure. There is Rob Collard then. So he's starting in 9th position with Andrew Jordan, the man he had that little contretemps with, right alongside him. But up front, it is Colin Turkington, of course, looking for 2 out of 2. And the fascinating thing here is that the championship has narrowed to just 1 point. Now, is there a problem for Collard here? Having spoken to him for a moment ago, he's now obviously got a problem. Now, I'm not going to interrupt him right this second because I think he's a bit busy there, Tim.
I suspect he may have broken a drive shaft just doing a practice start there as they came up to the line, because there's no hint of it right up to the end of the lap when we were talking to him. So the drivers always spin the wheels up just coming up to the line. I guess he's broken a drive shaft.
Right, we might ask Louise to find out about that one. Let's get ready for the start of the race then. Race 2 here at Oulton Park. Lights out, away we go, and off the line goes Turkington, a beautiful getaway. Plato not so good, and it's Giovanardi on the outside of the Vauxhall who's challenging for second, and Stephen Jelly following him or trying to. Giovanardi's got it a second. What a great start for the Vauxhall. Plato fends off Jelly, and Johnny Adam losing out. Adam Jones on the grass, my goodness, just about making it through. Turkington making the break, and Jelly versus Johnny Adam into Cascades.
Yeah, it was Johnny Adam that actually made the bad start there on the inside behind Turkington, which opened the door for Giovanardi and Plato to get in front.
So Turkington making the most of it. Further back, you've got Vauxhall and Matt Neal, then Andrew Jordan on the inside of James Thompson. Thompson wide at the hairpin, and that's going to give Jordan the run, surely, on the exit of the corner. Nothing to choose between them, side by side, but just about giving each other room. Turkington leads. Giovanardi in second. He's never won here before, Giovanardi, and he's chased Turkington in the past. Plato's third, Jelly fourth. And Jordan versus Thompson. Thompson has to take to the grass.
Well, Thompson has to take to the grass. He mustn't gain anything. He certainly didn't. He came out right back on the bumper of Jordan.
Well, that worked pretty well, and he's clever stuff there from James Thompson. He shouldn't get penalised up front. Look at Turkington versus Giovanardi. These two, a couple of years ago, had a massive dice for the lead, and it ended up being the closest ever finish in British touring car history. And Giovanardi trying to use the best of the front-wheel drive in the early laps here, because he knows that as the race progresses, that BMW will get quicker.
Yeah, speaking to Vauxhall, they know that really and truly that unless they get in front at the start, the tyre deterioration because of the extra heat and the fact they're front-wheel drive is going to really make them suffer later in the race.
Plato still in third place, Jelly in fourth. He's got Johnny Adam directly behind him in the Airwaves car. Plato running wide, but as standard there. Matt Neal, keep an eye on Matt Neal. He's still sitting in 6th position at the moment behind those two BMWs. On board with race leader Colin Turkington, looking right back at Fabrizio Giovanardi, and these two have had some great dices, but particularly here, as I mentioned, at Oulton Park, and Giovanardi just looking. Turkington managed to keep Plato behind him. Is he going to do the same with the reigning champion?
Yeah, you saw a good shot of that concertina effect there as they come into the braking area. One car brakes, the other car then brakes at the same time and closes up, but then on the exit, the gap separates to as it was before.
Into Hislops, and Turkington still with that slight advantage. Plato in third. Look at this little group behind. Watch for this. At the back of that group's Adam Jones in the Seat. James Thompson's just ahead of him. But that little group, they could possibly see some changes there. Remember, we're looking at the top 10 in particular, because race 3 will be a reverse grid for up to 10 cars. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. You're on board with James Thompson, and he's chasing Andrew Jordan. That's for 7th place.
Yeah, we can go down to the pits, though, and hear what happened to Rob Collard.
Yeah, certainly wasn't expecting to be speaking to him again so soon. What was the problem, Rob?
Unfortunately, we've just broke a prop shaft on the warm-up lap. We've done a sort of dummy clutch start, rolling up to the grid, and it's just gone bang. So, really bad luck for the Airways BMW team. It just, and seems like it's the end of my championship hopes at the moment.
So, can you not fix it for the next race?
Well, I hope the team can. The Airways team are fantastic, and the BMW is quite a good car to repair. So I'm hoping the team can get me fixed and we can go and race free. But obviously, no reverse grid. We're starting from the back. It's going to be a real uphill battle from here on.
Bad luck, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Up front, it's still Colin Turkington with Fabrizio Giovanardi with a little looking down the inside. It's just a slight difference in line more than anything on that turn-in. But Giovanardi playing it a bit cautiously. He needs the points here, remember, as he tries to get involved in that top 3 championship battle.
Yeah, there was an opportunity then. He could have just eased off the brakes and had a little touch on the back, but he didn't. And here's Johnny Adam challenging now. Well, actually, Jordan's got past him, yes.
Andrew Jordan has got past Johnny Adam, so Andrew Jordan up into 6th place there. So that's a good move from his point of view. And Johnny Adam now under pressure from James Thompson and Adam Jones directly behind. Not much to choose between them at this stage. And through up towards Druids they come. James Thompson with the yellow flashes on the black Honda looking for a way. Now this is on board Thompson when they were down at the hairpin, and Jordan managing to sort of slip through, and there's a little touch but nothing much, and they had a great exit there.
Yeah, I think what had happened was that Johnny Adam and Stephen Jelly had come together, and that allowed Jordan to get the run at them. You could just see it in front there.
Right, so that was to Jordan's advantage. Up front, the top 2 have made a bit of a break, but it's Matt Jackson with fastest lap in this race, despite being all the way down in 17th place. Look at this lot. Paul O'Neill leading this group, and down the inside, Tom Chilton trying to make us Alan Morrison making a move. Tom Chilton's on the grass in the other Focus at the back of the group, and Alan Morrison making a good move there in the Team A on Focus and getting past Dave Pigney. Pigney's in there, so is Harry Folkard. James Nash is the one that they were all trying to get past. He's making his debut in British Touring Cars. He runs a bit wide. He's got the green flash on the windscreen of that blue Chevrolet Lacetti. He's new to the series, and he's finding that it can be pretty hard work in the midfield.
Yeah, very close up front. Giovanardi still applying the pressure, but it was on lap 8, I think it was, in the first race when the BMW set its fastest lap, so it's starting to come into its zone.
Yep, Turkington with the maximum ballast on board, remember, though, so he's got a bit more lead to cope with this time, and that may have its own effect, but no, look, he is definitely beginning to open up that little bit of an advantage over Fabrizio Giovanardi, despite chasing hard. 3rd place for Plato, who's broken away a bit. Neil in 4th, Jordan now in 5th place. It's definitely a better race, this, for Vauxhall than the earlier race where they were struggling. Now suddenly the Vectras are beginning to become a factor here.
They are at this age, but don't forget, we're only not even a third of the way into this race yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Giovanardi quite close as they approach Lodge, but Turkington just keeping it under control so far as they flash over the line there. That's 4 laps completed. We go on to lap 5. Giovanardi with the fastest lap that time around.
Yeah, very good lap, a 28.5. That's a quick lap in these conditions.
Yeah, it is very warm. That's not to best effect for tyres and indeed for engines as well. It makes it a little bit harder work. These two are driving superbly well. You're watching, James Nash into the pits. He was part of that group battling just inside the top 10, but he's into the pits for some reason as the 2 leaders make their way around Island Hairpin once more.
Don't forget, we saw this in the first race with Turkington soaking up the early pressure from Plato and then gradually easing away.
Yep, he managed it then. Can he do it again this time? Plato's still up there in 3rd place. Valuable points on offer. His great rival over so many years. Matt Neal sits in 4th place. A bit of a lock-up from Matt Neal. No weight on that car this time. Then it's Andrew Jordan, who still leads up that group of Johnny Adam and James Thompson, and also joining into that is Adam Jones, of course. He's on the back of that group in the yellow and green Seat. Then there's a gap to Paul O'Neill. He's 9th, and Alan Morrison looking at getting his first points in a Focus. We saw Chilton finish 9th last time out at Donington, but Morrison looking at his first point there. He's sitting in 10th position.
Yeah, it's definitely Matt Neal that's pushing really hard. You keep seeing puffs of smoke as he brakes really, really hard into the corner there. You see another one as it just picks up the inside rear, but he's quicker than Plato in front. These two old touring car rivals.
Yeah, that's going to be one to watch as Jordan now coming under more pressure from Johnny Adam, and now that the BMW is getting more comfortable, if you like, with the tyre temperatures up and the front-wheel drive cars beginning to lose a little bit of performance, Johnny Adam wants to try and get back past Andy Jordan. Had that great 3rd place in the first race today, did the young Scot, and these are 2 youngsters, of course, both trying to prove themselves in British touring cars this year. Both real big opportunities, and they want to stamp their mark, but without making mistakes. Right behind them, it's James Thompson, double champion in the past, and back for his first full season in the series for several years. Jordan a bit wide. Here comes Johnny Adam. He's up the inside in the Airways BMW, and he's made the move.
Well, that was as clean as you could possibly do it, wasn't it? That's a fraction of a mistake from Jordan, running too deep into the hairpin, and a nice clean pass by Johnny Adam without contact.
Down into his lops they go then, and that was a very, very good move by Johnny Adam. Andrew Jordan's slight mistake. James Thompson tucked in behind. Then it's the say of Adam Jones, who was saying earlier how frustrating. He's got good speed through the corners, but when he gets back on the throttle, there's a slight hiccup in the engine, and it just costs him a fraction of a second every time. I hope they've got it sorted. Can't tell from here. We'll have to ask him afterwards.
Yeah, and look at that. Matt Neal right on the back of Plato.
Yeah, this is getting very tight. This is for third place, of course. Plato just holding on for the moment from Matt Neal, but it's tight. Matt Neal looking for every opportunity, and up across the line they come. 6 laps across the line. We gather there's a gearbox problem for James Nash, and that's why he's had to come into the pits. But out of Old Hall corner, Jason Plato still managing to fend off Matt Neal. Down through Cascades, and Jason Plato with that third place. He just runs a wheel over the edge. That's where you've got to be careful. We saw a couple of people do that earlier on. I noticed in your race at one point, Tim, you put a wheel over the edge there.
Yeah, I didn't want to lift off and lose any momentum. You know, with my weight in the car, it takes a long time to get it back. Or a little touch from Matt Neal.
Good stuff.
But you're so far into that corner, and the car is really pushing out. There's a lot of G-force, and you don't want to lift off and lose momentum down the straight.
Absolutely. So that's what we saw from Jason Plato there, trying to keep that momentum up. These two are such seasoned rivals. No love lost between them, as we know, but Matt Neal will look to try and get through cleanly if possible. He knows that Giovinardi's sitting up there in second, and in terms of the championship, remember, Matt Neal came into this particular race 1 point ahead of Turkington. Now, Turkington leads the race. If Matt Neal can get himself a podium finish, he's going to limit the damage here of that Team RAC car leading the race, and that's what he wants. He wants to try and get past the blue Chevrolet of Jason Plato, and we're still only at around half distance, so there's plenty of time here.
Yeah, I just wonder if the Chevrolet team have just eased off a little bit on the setup of that car, bearing in mind the tyre problem that Matt Jackson had at the end of the first race.
Just talking of Jackson, he's now up to 12th, but the fastest lap in the race, which he had briefly, then went to Colin Turkington. Here's James Thompson trying to get past Andrew Jordan. Had a little think about making a switch back there, but it didn't come off, and Jordan holds on to what is 6th place. Thompson sitting 7th. Jones is 8th, O'Neill now 9th, Morrison is still in 10th place. No, that was a bit deep from Adam Jones. Don't think he meant to go in quite that wide, but I think he managed to just about stay on the tarmac.
Yeah, look at the distance Johnny Adam there has put on Andrew Jordan since he passed him. He's now catching up that group of Plato and Neal. Yeah. And I think Johnny Adam looks like he's trying to atone for that bad start. He should have really been off like a rocket up behind Colin Turkington.
Yeah, Jason Plato is really slowing it down here because he's turning in as tight as possible to stop Matt Neal getting past, and of course it's allowing Johnny Adam to catch them. There's Andrew Jordan trying to fend off from James Thompson with still half the race to go. You're on board with James Thompson on the Honda Civic, which was winning 2 races at Donington, but they're struggling a little bit more here at Oulton Park this weekend. They had a win with this car in the hands of Gordon Shedden last year. That was in race 3, but they just struggled a bit, particularly in qualifying, and put them on the back foot, and now they're trying to work their way further up the order, sitting in 7th at the moment.
Yeah, Johnny Adam was half a second quicker than this pair on the last lap, and he looks like he's going to be at least another half second quicker on this lap.
Wonderful dice this up front between Plato and Matt Neal. You can just feel them both trying to outfox the other. Positioning, speed into the corner, all of it counts to the absolute finest degree between these two, because they're such high quality racers and each wants to beat the other so much.
Yeah, but every time I watch Matt Neal, they come into the braking area, I'm waiting for that last minute jink out and a dive up the inside that he so favours.
Yeah, and Plato will know, won't he? He'll be ready for it to a certain extent. He's had a great run through Cascades, but Plato knows it, so he holds that white line. You can see the cars almost hugging that white line down to the hairpin. They go side by side. Plato doesn't worry about that because he's got the inside line. There's nowhere for Matt Neal to go.
He went across the inside of the grass though. Didn't allow Matt Neal an opportunity to cut back, although he's left the door open now. He must feel he's got enough straight line speed not to do it. But look, Johnny Adam is just marching up to the back of them.
Yeah, this is fantastic for Johnny Adam, who in the BMW, the Airwaves car right behind him, is just saying, You carry on fighting like this, boys, and I might get both of you before the end of the race. Johnny's currently sitting 5th, of course. This is the battle for 3rd place that we're watching. Out in front, Turkington has just set a new fastest lap, by the way, in that Team RAC BMW, and has a 1.4 second lead over Giovanardi in 2nd. And there you are, leader, 2nd place Giovanardi, and here's the battle for 3rd.
Yeah, here we go. What's going to happen here? Plato's super defensive here. He's going to leave Matt Neal exposed to Johnny Adam. He's going to have to both attack and defend, which is what Plato wants, really, because it means it'll take the heat off him.
Yeah, in a way, he'll be quite happy that Johnny Adam's joining in here, and Johnny Adam in the BMW really is right with them, and he could have a chance into Oulton. He decides to back out of it, and this is going to work to Jason Plato's favour, because suddenly Matt Neal has to watch his mirrors as well as trying to find a way through past Jason Plato.
Yeah, talk about mirrors, it's mirror on the wall for Colin Turkington.
Little mistake there.
Definitely a loss. Look, just a little movement there, immediately loses about 5 or 6 yards or car lengths, and straight away he's got to defend, and this is what Plato wants.
So down into the hairpin they go, in tight, and Plato just controls it once again. And Johnny Adam couldn't quite find that momentum that he needed to finish the manoeuvre off all the way down to the hairpin. So this is still the race for 3rd. Behind them you've got Andrew Jordan sitting in 6th place, Thompson in 7th place. Not much to choose between those two either. And then that little bit of a gap back to Adam Jones, Paul O'Neill. Matt Jackson, by the way, has got into the top 10 now. So Alan Morrison's been squeezed out of that top 10. And Matt Jackson fastest early in the race, but now working his way up the order.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's exactly the same as the first race. Mirror image, in fact. Colin Turkington setting his fastest lap on lap 8. There he is, and he's now pulled away by some 2 seconds.
So our leaders up front, Turkington with that 2-second advantage, Giovanardi in 2nd, Plato taking the narrowest line I've virtually ever seen into Lodge Corner, unless somebody's actually making a lunge up the inside, but it's enough to stop Matt Neal coming past him, and that's all he's worried about. Here we go again, these 3 cars cross the line, 10 laps have been completed, out of the 15, we go on to lap number 11, and it's still a wonderful tussle, thinking all the time, how can I just get a bit more speed out of this car, with Johnny Adam right in there, getting a bit of a masterclass from 2 of the best in the business.
Yeah, this won't do his learning process any harm at all, just to watch these 2 old protagonists duel it out.
That's right, maybe he should just sort of sit there and watch to see what happens next, but I'm sure he will take advantage if he can. He's a racer. Matt Neal again just locks that inside tyre, but maintains control of the car beautifully to stay welded to the rear bumper of Jason Plato's Chevrolet. It's great to have Chevrolet in the series this year, Tim, and you know, the performance we're seeing, we've had a victory each for Plato and Jackson. Look at this sort of solid performance that they're putting up against cars that we've seen in the series for several years. A wonderful addition into British touring cars.
Definitely, and you know, the variety really adds to it, and having a class driver like Plato and his teammate Jackson in it really adds to the championship. It's just what we need, and Vauxhall are probably not the most happy about them coming into the championship, but it's really adding to our entertainment value.
Yeah, mixing it up. We've had 7 different winners so far this season, of course. Colin Turkington has won 2 races this year, and he could become the first driver to win 3 races. If he carries on where he is right now, he certainly will be. Meanwhile, we're still watching this battle for 3rd, still inches apart. Plato and Matt Neal, and look, can Neal this time do anything? I don't think he can. There's nowhere to go, because Plato just positions the car so accurately, there's no chance of getting past.
It's very close. I mean, they're very equal on the straight, clearly very similar. It just comes down to driving a really neat, tidy defensive line where necessary.
Surely somebody's going to make a little mistake somewhere. We saw a little error from Matt Neal here a lap or 2 ago. No problem there. That time the car tracks beautifully through the corner, doesn't run too wide, and now down to the hairpin again. Plato doesn't have to be quite as defensive this time. Is there a nudge? Oh, it's tight. He might have just touched him that time.
Yeah, there was definitely a touch there. Now, well, that's actually let Plato get away. Matt Neal backed out of that so as not to spin him round, and has left him vulnerable to Johnny Adam while Plato sprints away again.
So Matt Neal's behaving himself, because there was a chance to clout Plato quite hard there, but there was a slight touch, and in the end, as you say, he backed out of it and lost himself a length. But look how quickly he closes back up. Thompson in the background puts a wheel over the curb, but doesn't make a mistake. Paul O'Neill still down there in 9th place in the older Honda Integra, of course, and Matt Jackson still sitting in 10th position.
Yeah, I mean, this is great psychology here, because Plato knows that Matt Neal has got to finish. He knows he's, well, 1 point behind in the championship, but he's going to be a bit more if Turkington wins. But he knows he needs to finish this race, and he won't either take a risk that could end up in a judicial procedure or ends up in an accident. So he can just really bottle him up.
Yeah, no, he's working that to his advantage. Across the line, 12 laps completed, onto lap 13 now. Wide line there, turning in from Plato, and off's gone Jackson. Was that in with company? I don't know, but
well,
he was in 10th.
That's on the approach. Logic, look, has he got another puncture? Look, I don't know. He's just sticking out from the bodywork there, but there's some problem there for sure.
Now remember, Matt Jackson did have that puncture late in the first race, so Plato's got to be a bit cautious in terms of how he manages his tyres. The Vectra of Matt Neal there looking good. No weight on board that Vectra, of course. Jason Plato himself is carrying 36 kilos and trying to go on the grass around the outside this time. Matt Neal trying to take advantage of that difference in weight between them, but he couldn't quite do it again.
You'd think probably with 36 kilos difference that Matt Neal might be able to drag past him on the straight, but he certainly can't. That Chevy has a hell of a good engine there.
It just proves it, doesn't it? Yeah, and up this hill, I mean, you'd expect with the 36 kilos on board the Chevrolet here that he might struggle up the hill, but no, pulls very well, and we saw that right from the car's debut at Brands Hatch, how quick it was at the end of the straight, and Matt Neal can't do much about it currently as we're getting into the latter stages of this race now, and Plato again will surely have to go bit middle of the road here. We've seen Matt Neal pull off some wonderful late lunges into this corner in the past, but again he's being a bit cautious.
Yeah, you're thinking like me, it looks like he's too far back, and then at the last minute he goes and dives out, but you and Matt didn't try it then.
No, he felt it was asking too much. Johnny Adams still sits in there behind them in the Airwaves BMW. So 2 laps to go now. Turkington has the lead of this race by 4.6 seconds, so he really is comfortably out in front, and he's looking at a double win here at Oulton Park. Sun is certainly shining for Team RAC. Giovanardi still in second place, but the battle for third is wide open.
Yeah, such is Turkington's pace that depending on how many cars get reversed in this last race for the final race, I wouldn't be surprised. He hasn't got a bad shot at the winning 3 out of 3, which Dan Eves did at Thruxton.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We've oh, look at the two of them rubbing again. Door handles once more. We're on board with Plato. Matt Neal's still not quite there, and Plato's so confident in that straight line speed that he doesn't cover. You're right, he doesn't cover that inside. That shows you how much confidence Jason has in the engine power of the Chevrolet, and the Vectra's got a good engine too, so it just goes to prove, doesn't it? BMW staying in there pretty well. That's of Johnny Adam. He's looking at a 5th place finish, and behind them the other group with Jordan, with Thompson behind him, then Adam Jones, Paul O'Neill still sitting in 9th. Alan Morrison is back in 10th because, of course, we lost Matt Jackson, didn't we, a little while ago. So that brings the Team A on Ford Focus back into the top 10. Dave Pinkney is in 11th place. Tom Chilton is in 12th place. And Matt Neal again thinks about it. Oh, taking to the grass.
It's all going to get close, isn't it, on this last lap?
And he's only got this lap to go now, and he's running out of opportunities, but he wants to try and keep it clean. He wants to get the move done. Plato turns it to Old Hall. Final lap then for these guys. Is there going to be a change? Look at that lead that Colin Turkington has. Massive.
Well, just to give you a comparison, Colin Turkington's last lap was well, in fact, last but 1 lap was only half a second off his very best lap, whereas Giovanardi's was a 1.5 seconds off. So a second extra in deterioration in the front-wheel drive car's performance at the end of the race.
Into the hairpin for the final time. Oh, there's a nudge, there's a bang, there's a little bit of bumper gets removed. Johnny Adams still trying to get involved, but Plato's still there in 3rd place. Can he hold on for the remainder of the lap? Down the hill they come. The bumper starts flapping as a result of the accident there at the hairpin. It comes off just the corner of the bumper. That shouldn't hurt him too much. Matt Neal still trying everything, still applying the pressure, but he's running out of time here. There's really only 2 opportunities. To be honest, only 1 opportunity. That's the final corner if he gets the run through this next section.
Yeah, well, he's got a little bit of time to make up through Druids here. There's going to be who's the bravest through here. Matt is closing a fraction. He needs a really, really good exit. Looks like he's going to get it as well.
Down towards the final turn. Turkington takes his 3rd win of the year. The first 3-time winner of 2009. But it's the battle for 3rd that we're watching. Giovanardi's going to finish in 2nd place. Here comes Matt Neal. It's going to be a run to the flag between Jason Plato and Matt Neal, and it's Jason Plato and Johnny Adam. Johnny Adam might take 4th on the line. I don't think he did. Wow, Jason Plato Plato holds on to third after a race-long rub-in with Matt Neal. Wonderful between two champions of the past. Jason will love that, I'm sure. Matt will be a bit frustrated, but still vital points for Matt Neal. He didn't want to throw them away, but Turkington, with that victory, Tim, would have taken the championship lead.
Yeah, consummate victory. Don't want to say I told you so, but it really did look on the cards from the start, as long as he made the getaway, which he did, and it really paid out exactly as we thought. Soaked up the early pressure while the Vauxhalls still had, well, Giovinardi still had good tyre, and then just drove away. Good drive by Giovinardi. I think he knew he couldn't beat Turkington over the race distance, so he settled for second. Plato, the battle for third. A great battle, a real interesting tactical battle with positioning on the track and a little bit of guile and racecraft, and a great battle.
Yeah, this was some of it. This was the last lap. Take a look at this again.
Well, right tight into the hairpin. Contact, but both of them just getting away with it. Surprised Johnny Adam didn't get a better run at them, actually, as a result of that. But the bumper eventually came off, and then there was a little bit more contact into the final corner. And I think Jason was relieved to see the checkered flag.
I think he was. It was very, very close. Great stuff, though, and very, very entertaining between those two. But it's Turkington who takes the score, and with the extra point for fastest lap, that's truly going to help his championship aspirations as well. Let's take a look at that result then. Turkington the winner from Giovinardi and Plato, with Matt Neal having to settle for fourth. Johnny Adam up there again in fifth, Andrew Jordan in sixth, holding off James Thompson to the flag, and first points of the season for Alan Morrison for Team Aon for his car. Good news to him. 11th just outside the points, Dave Pickney, then Tom Chilton, Danny, Stephen Jelly, Harry Volkard, Martin Johnson, Martin Bell. Matt Jackson was out of luck. He got into the top 10, but then problems. James Nash didn't finish, and of course Rob Collard never even made the start. So on a bright sunny day here at Oulton Park, it's looking very good for Colin Turkington, who now takes the lead of the championship. That's the first time this season that Matt Neal has not been leading the title battle. Giovinardi there sitting in third, Plato in fourth, and those four guys you've really got to think are the main challengers for the championship in 2009. Collard in fifth, out of luck as he said, and you could hear the disappointment in his voice as he realised that a non-start was very, very painful. Thompson's up there in sixth, ahead of Jones, Adam, Matt Jackson and Andrew Jordan.
So for the second time this afternoon, we welcome Colin Turkington, race winner, but also the first three-time winner in the championship this season. And that means that he takes over as the new championship leader. Colin Turkington with 2 wins out of 2 this afternoon. And once again, Colin, after you'd made that start, which was all important, another trouble-free run. Terrific stuff. Yeah,
it was great. You know, the start's vital. You know, it's such a big part of the race, and you know, Johnny Adam was my biggest threat because he's in a BMW, but I got away really well, and surprised to see Fabrizio, you know, right behind me, and he really was hounding me in those first few laps. But about 6 laps in, you know, my car just continued going, and had no signs of slowing down, so just keeping the head down and pumping the laps in.
And that must be a wonderful feeling when you got a cushion like that. What about 2 wins out of 2 and the new championship lead?
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, I'm trying not to think too much about the championship. You know, it's very early days, but you know, to win twice in one day is fantastic. So, you know, the way we're going today is going to take a lot to stop us in the next one.
You knew the BMWs had an advantage around here, but you also had to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's you know, any race win is never easy. You know, even especially when you're in the lead, you know, you have to concentrate so hard. You know, especially with guys like Fabrizio behind you. One mistake and he's on you. So really delighted with that one.
Thoughts for the final race with its reshuffled grid?
Yeah, hopefully they don't pick P10, and you know, a mid-grade somewhere would be lovely, and just another strong race, you know, would be great.
Well, it is important that we try to get the reaction of Jason Plato, which we'll do either in the next few minutes or on the build-up to our third race this afternoon. Fabrizio Giovinardi has just pulled alongside. He's in second, but what a tremendous scrap it was for third. Jason is coming in a few minutes' time, but we must take a break, and in a few minutes we will conduct that draw for the grid for round 3 here at Oulton Park.